Good afternoon and good evening to all of our merry Marvelites. Welcome to a fun-filled installment at a later hour. Marvel Movie Talk After Dark. As always, I am Christian Blatt, returning champion, the one, the only, the mansplainer himself, Count Eric Connor.
Hello, hello. That's all I
And
have to explain.
of course, our friend, the one, the only, Caitlin Cornell. Thank you both for being here to talk She-Hulk. Now we've been talking She-Hulk for about 2 months here, and right when the Hulkin was good, Eric decided he had to go to Israel, and you did pop in from there, which we appreciated.
Welcome back.
Yes.
Thank you.
But Kate, I believe you haven't been with us this whole time. So
No.
if we can get from you, keeping your hands at 2 and 10 o'clock, please, we could just overall thoughts, and then we'll dive into the season as a whole and the finale. But just overall thoughts, expectations coming in, and then what you felt as the season went along.
First of all, I'm really happy to be back because I really miss being with you guys. And I am not driving for anyone who is watching the feed. I am parked outside my work and I have a limited amount of time, but I'm very happy to do it. I know that the first time we talked about She-Hulk, we were doing the download after SDCC. And I was a little bit hesitant because I knew that the fourth wall breaks were a part of the comic. But they were going to be different than how Deadpool did it, and it's unfortunate that that's the comparison. But that's the only thing we have to compare it to, unless you're doing Fleabag, which was, I felt, more of kind of what She-Hulk was trying to do, a mixture of the two of them. Fourth wall breaks are really, really difficult, and I think that some of them were really well done, and some of them were not really well done. And I felt like overall, I am glad that we're back to people are talking about the genre bend that Marvel did with this, but they've been really doing this the whole time. So, but it's nice to have them go so far into left field. So then more fields are possible. So I'm actually really happy that we got this show, regardless of how people felt about the character, how people felt about the story. They definitely addressed the story in the finale, which in a very funny way, which I really enjoyed. And from having personal experiences, that Kate, that hat was very familiar to me. That silhouette was extremely familiar. But I was very excited just at the prospect of the possibilities for the superhero genre going forward. And I think that's what it was trying to do.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair, accurate, succinct summation of what we got. Eric, now that we are at the end of the road, at least for now, for Jen Walters, what are your thinking? What is your thinking after this first season?
Yeah, we've talked before about like how important it is for Marvel, like with all, because it has so many titles. How do you make each thing its own thing? And I thought, She-Hulk definitely was like blazing to its own drummer, and that was what made it work. And maybe does it overdo it at times? Yeah, a couple of the episodes a little thin, sure, but this felt like a TV show. This felt like something that really was something to watch once a week. I love the procedural stuff in there. I love the lawsuits. I feel like they could go forever with those. I enjoyed the Ally McBealness of it all. I think the actress whose name I will always mispronounce, so I'll just say the young lady from Black Mirror. I thought, from Orphan Black.
Orphan Black.
Fabulous.
Come on.
Tatiana.
You can't get her name right. You
That's
can't get
funny.
her show right.
I can't get nothing right.
The only thing you have to get right is she's in She-Hulk.
Very
yes,
true.
she is, and she is terrific. And I thought they surrounded her with a wonderful supporting cast. And so, like, even at its worst, it was still pretty darn good, and it made me laugh consistently. Like some episodes a lot, some episodes a little guffaw, occasional chuckle, but always felt lighter on its feet than most Marvel properties. Didn't try too hard. Definitely coasted on charm, but so much charm to it. So I definitely, I would love to see more of her. I would love to see more of the show. The future, none of us know quite yet, or else I'd be making a lot more money in sports betting. But the truth is, like, this is a really fun property, and also, by the way, I think probably my wife's favorite MCU show thus far, and maybe one of her favorite MCU properties thus far as well.
That's interesting. I'm glad she enjoyed it, and I think
It was happy.
when you think about what we've gotten in terms of the Disney Plus content, they are able to be a lot more adventurous, a lot more different, regardless of what people felt about the end results. I think this show, Moon Knight, and let's not forget Werewolf by Night, even though I know it was just a special, they have gone for some really very different things than what they had been doing. And I think that this is no difference. But in terms of taking big swings and delivering on something very different than what we're accustomed to, of course, our friend Elena Jordan is now here joining us. Very excited to have you with us, back here with us. Elena, thank you so much for being here today on Marvel Movie Talk to talk She-Hulk.
Thanks for having me. I'm
Absolute-
excited. I love this show.
Well, that was I wanted to start big and work the way down. And Elena and Kate have known each other longer than I think either of you have known me. So I feel left out. But
Actually, I don't think so for me, because I've known
yeah,
you.
so I've known you forever. That's true.
Yeah.
All units of time are based on knowledge of Christian, basically, in
Right.
this world.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And don't worry, we will.
DC or-
Flat, post-flat.
Yes, exactly. Well, Elena, just I'll ask you the same question I asked Kate when we started. Your expectations coming into the show, your thoughts as the season went along, and now that the season's over, just kind of walk us through this journey with Jen Walters that you were able to go on.
Yeah, I knew that this show was going to be coming out a little bit before it was announced because at one of the NBC like red carpet party things, I met Stephanie Beatrice, who played Rosa on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and she is a huge She-Hulk fan, and she was up for the role. So we spent the entire night talking She-Hulk, and I was like, oh, I hope she gets it. And then they announced Tatiana, and I was like, oh, let's see what happens. And then she killed it. So I kind of went in with like a little bit of trepidation about how it was going to work, but I heard that it was, pretty close to the comics, which I loved. And my only thing is that I wish we would have gotten a little more Titania, because I love Jamila Jamil, but I loved it. I thought, sorry, Deadpool, but She-Hulk knows how to break the fourth wall pretty damn good. So
It's very true. Yeah. And I now that you mentioned, I do remember having heard that about Stephanie Beatrice, like going way back. I think it's a different choice. I think she would have been great in a different way, but I think that they definitely got their She-Hulk for the tone they were going for with this. And then, hopefully when things like that happen, you just hope that there's another door that's about to open for her to do something else in the MCU. I'm talking about Stephanie Beatrice, So
she did get to do Encanto, though, and nobody's really, she got to go visit her own self at Disney, so I don't think she's really hurting too bad.
Yeah, she'll be all right. Yeah, exactly. She's in good with the Mouse House, as it were. Well, let's kind of start with the way things ended and kind of work back from there. Eric, you were with us every week except for the finale because you weren't able to figure out how to get your VPN to help you watch from Israel. But I want to ask you first, and then we'll go clockwise. What was your thoughts on specifically the finale for She-Hulk?
Well, I'm going to try and ignore the victim blaming you just did there for my VPN issues. It was also, by the way, it was the middle of the screening when I came out to say hello. So it was actually like I left.
All I'm hearing are excuses. It's really everything I'm hearing. Just, yeah. So,
How many correspondents do you have from the Middle East on the Bladcast? I'm going to say
you'd be surprised, actually. You'd be surprised.
Yeah. So I thought the finale, was wonderfully crazy, and one of those like I don't know. It's funny. It's like I'm proud of Marvel for saying, yeah, why not? Like fuck it. go all out, and they really did. I mean, like, to the point where that moment with the Disney Plus menu came up, I'm like, all right, that's genius. You know, I thought that was a moment where, like, we've seen them break fourth walls. We have Deadpool. We have all these other things. That is a thing I don't think we've ever seen anything like that. And the idea that they could find a new angle on breaking the fourth wall, to me, that alone was great. The only thing is, you know, when you mix genres and tones, you always run that risk of, like, it's like when you're cooking. If you add too much of a sweet, it might undo the salt. And I think that might have happened a little bit here, where I understand deconstructing the whole idea of what a climax is, deconstructing the idea of what a TV show is, what streaming is, but at the expense of, and I agree, Jameela Jamil was in the end quite underutilized considering how good she is. And they didn't really give us that big sort of, like, I didn't necessarily need a knockdown, drag down fight, but even a battle of wits, a battle of words. We didn't really even get that. And so I think, like, that might be one of those, like, unfortunate collateral damage of the choices artistically they made. It sort of it took away that real moment of her, like, using her wit, her words, her JD to outsmart the villains. And it was fine in that it was still really funny, memorable. We'll be talking about this finale for a while, I think, but at the expense of giving us the emotional payoff that I think we might have needed.
Yeah, I think that for me, it was interesting. I appreciated the sort of craziness of the finale, but I did feel a little cheated out of what they were building to, and then they actually start to kind of give it to you, and they're like, "Nah, we're not going to do that," and it's okay. But I was just like, "Oh, I just feel like if they could have given us something that felt satisfying, you know, in my heart, and then also still done that, you know, I think that would have been great." But you know, I appreciated sort of the, you know, the show within the show. When we talked about it last week, I referred to the Chuck Jones Looney Tune Duck Amuck, where they kind of, you know, go and speak to the animator and they kind of step out, and, you know, there's obviously a long history of this sort of a thing, which I thought was great. And I really look, I appreciated it. Even I think if it hadn't worked as well as it did, and I don't think it was perfect, but it still would have been like, oh wow, they really went for that, and that's great. So, but I was definitely content. I thought it was fun that it was like, and let's bring back Daredevil. You know, I appreciated that. Which of course to me was really the high point of the series, was Matt Murdock and her interacting.
Like it was for She-Hulk too.
Yeah, exactly. What did you think? Yeah, what did you think of the specifically the finale, Elena? Kate seems to be having some connectivity issues, so hopefully we haven't lost her for the show, but we'll see.
What did
you think?
It's just
so Elena, your thoughts on the finale?
I loved it. I loved the whole Kevin thing. I thought was hilarious. Like I want to know what Kevin Feige like thought of that whole situation. I mean, he had to be involved in it, but yeah, but I mean, like, the writers coming up with that, you know, like, I would love to see his reaction to them kind of pitching that. So I absolutely loved it. It kind of reminded me a little bit, though, if you guys ever read the issue of Fantastic Four when Ben dies and the rest of them go to heaven to rescue Ben from heaven, and he's like chilling with Jack Kirby because Jack Kirby is their creator, like their god, and Ben's like, I'm good, and they're like, no, come back to Earth and fight crime. It's like kind of a not cool move for Ben, but I like that. Like, it just kind of reminded me of that, of like her going in and being like, no, I'm gonna change my story. Like, even from the penultimate episode, like when she's like, wait, like, shouldn't this episode be over? Like, wait, is that the finale? Loved it. I thought that was a great setup because it let us know what to expect going into it, like even more, because she kind of broke the fourth wall throughout, but this was when she was hardcore, like talking about this show specifically. So I think it kind of, you know, it let us know, it was a little teaser that the finale is going to be very fourth wall heavy, and broken wall heavy for Titania. She does not use doors. But yeah, I wish that they would have had a little bit more Jamila Jamil. I think they set it up though so that they would have kind of going into season 2, they could have the same kind of main villain, because if you wrap up that story, then you kind of need somebody new for the next one. And so I like the idea. I think it's definitely going to get a second season, but I hope I'm right.
Yeah,
But
I mean, we've talked a
more-
little bit about it, where I feel like it could very well get a second season. Probably not right away, not as quickly as like with Loki. It seems like they went right into a second season, but they probably have plans. And I think if they don't do a second season, the critical / fan reaction to this show will have nothing to do with it. I think that they very much want to do it. They probably have a time and place that makes sense. Who knows what projects she has lined up? Who knows what movies they need her to be in? And even in terms of the regulars, in terms of our regular commenters on the show, I know Kame Egan was not really blown away by the show. She thinks She-Hulk had a couple of good episodes, but overall was disappointed with the humor and the lack of her as an attorney. And then she had a follow-up comment that ties right into this. I'm all right if there's no second season. I do want her to pop up within other shows and movies. I agree with that. And, knowing that the Daredevil series is going to have 18 episodes, and while we don't know what the tone is, it's like, that's a lot of opportunities to have her show up for a visit, So I hope they're able to use that. And Dominica Saxon agreed with Kemi Egan. She-Hulk was good and fun, very little substance overall, and he will never like the final episode. And yeah, look, that's one of those choices though. When it ends in a I'm going to step out of the show way, you might just have some people who are like, all right, I'm not here for it. I think a lot of people were, but I do understand that even people who liked the show, that might not have been for them. I thought it was fun, but did still feel a little bit cheated.
I feel like we just have some intelligentsia members in our chat right now.
I mean, look, that's a huge percentage of the Black Cast audience is intelligentsias. So, that definitely makes sense. Yeah, and Dominica Saxon summarized this. He's called it empty calories, but fine for 25 minutes at a time. It would be interesting if they tried to stretch these into longer episodes, because to them it was really like a sitcom, and it wasn't a drama. And some of the shows that we've got on Disney Plus, it's kind of somewhere in between, and you're really not sure what it is. This one, I think, was a lot more of a sitcom sort of approach to the storytelling. So yeah, look, I think that it was great, and let's see if we're hearing. Kate was having some problems hearing us, and I know that she's gonna have to leave fairly soon. So, Kate, give us your thoughts specifically on the finale, though, as it relates to your enjoyment of the experience of the She-Hulk season 1.
No, I'm actually good. They just ended work, so I'm okay.
See, there you go. Yeah, that's right. Kate was getting paid for the first 20 minutes of this show, so
love that.
That makes one of us.
Sorry.
No, but go ahead. Talk about the finale a little bit, Kate.
She's working on Batgirl too.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh. I'm repping all the wrong things right now. It's ridiculous. What I really enjoyed about the finale, and I was actually curious because Elena posted, and of course I missed it because of my tech issues, so I'll have to rewatch it. What I enjoyed about the finale and them literally going through the fourth wall in order to meet the algorithm that is Kevin. But what was and I love that they did, for me, because I've seen him and I've been around him, like having the baseball cap be a thing as like a part of the character design, and the way he spoke, it was this weird mesh of like a nerdy Stephen Hawking, which I know that Stephen Hawking's nerdy, but like a Marvel-y Stephen Hawking, and it was calling itself out for how much it provides. Like, it was Marvel able to be like, we know that we've become like a meta-ized version of ourselves. Like, we're not like the young kids that took the risk on Iron Man, and we're not the young kids that tried to redo the formula. We now are the formula. And I think that was really fun to all of the basically they took every fucking shit talking internet video and went, we know you guys. Like, we know and we accept it. and I kind of, I don't know, like that was really refreshing. And I liked her calling out the X-Men, and it was a lot of like, because it's like, that's knowing like where they were placing everything and when things were happening. It's Miss Marvel has already called out the X-Men, and we've already seen Multiverse of Madness, and it's like they're bringing it in very slowly, and especially with X-Men 97 coming out, and this month is the 30th anniversary of animated series. So it was nice to hear that kind of like, when's the X-Men coming out? Like, it was like, it felt like this was a show by fans, the good and the bad. Like, everything was on the table here. Everything that was annoying, everything that didn't make sense, especially with that weird fight. And it's like, don't make him the son. Don't do that. But it's like, it felt like it was for us, but it was also calling us out. And it was really, really nice in a way to be like, oh yeah, cool. Like, we're not reinventing the wheel here. Okay. We're not.
Yeah. And I did find it to be interesting that this was in a lot of ways the most meta, most self-aware property we've gotten out of Marvel, where, you know, they anticipated what the criticisms would be because they were criticisms they'd gotten for other shows. And, you know, some of the stuff might have gotten, you know, dropped into later episodes because they were like, you know, like, oh, I would really fit if we, you know, had these comments on the screen or whatever. And, you know, I think acknowledging that you're aware of it, but continuing to do what you wanted to do is kind of a nice little FU. It's like, well, we're going to tell the stories we wanted to, and hopefully you come along for the ride. You know, one of the things since we did our show last week, I had read somewhere, I forget now who said it. It was the showrunner, but at one point there had been a conversation, I think for the finale, that scene where Bruce comes back, which we'll talk about in a second. They thought it could have been fun and wacky to have had Ed Norton play Bruce when he came back, which I thought would have actually been really funny. And if I had to guess, Ed Norton probably wasn't interested, but also maybe they didn't even reach out to him. But it just would have been funny. You know what I mean? Just that to just be that level of, you know, self-aware of, you know, because they obviously addressed it, you know, in the first episode when Bruce talked about how I'm literally a different person now. We talked about that on the show, how much we liked that. But yeah, so what I liked, and I talked about this last week, was, you know, when Jen is talking to Kevin and, you know, going over, but we were going to bring Bruce back so we could introduce, and she's like, no one cares about that. I thought it was funny that they then did actually have Bruce introduce Hulk's son. And
the Wish version, the Wish.com version.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Shut
exactly.
up. I thought the exact same thing.
I was like, guys, I know your CGI budget isn't big. I know you just called it out, but like, he looks like if you had the action figure and left it melting in the sun for a little bit.
No, it's almost like, you know, when you see the superimposed shirt, like 4 different colors on like Amazon when you're paying, and it's like, what would this color look like? And it's like the same woman in the same pose. And I'm just like, it's like She-Hulk.
Yeah.
She-Hulk,
exactly.
She-Hulk.
I did love though in the fake Incredible Hulk thing they did at the beginning for the opening, when they terrible CG of Mark Ruffalo in like when he's standing next to her, where he's clearly not there, and they went out of their way to make it look as shitty as possible. I'm like, all right, that's funny.
Yeah,
But
we
totally,
mentioned
like,
last week
tip of the hat.
that Eric, you won't be shocked that I really enjoyed that homage to the Incredible Hulk TV series that they took the time to do. But as I mentioned, the only thing that bummed me out was that the episode didn't end with her walking down the street and hitchhiking and
With a bustle.
Yeah, and the Lonely Man song playing off quietly as no, I have to move on to another town. I can't stay. I have to be going. But yeah, so there was an interesting comment again from our pal Dominicus Saxon. He said that I like Norton as Hulk more than Ruffalo. Mark's good, but Norton looks more crazy and tormented. I liked that movie, that one with Ed Norton, but I think that the way that they've used Bruce from Avengers onward, really, I think that Mark Ruffalo was actually great casting. It was one of those ones. I mean, not as much as like, oh wait, Paul Rudd's going to be a superhero. It was one of those ones that took a second when you're like, wait, he's the Hulk, but you're like, it's fine. I've definitely grown to. I never had a problem with it. I've grown to like him more. I just think it would have been a fun thing, and and if Norton said no, then why not ask Eric Bana? See what he's doing.
I feel like they just didn't even ask. Like,
and Lou Ferrigno is still with us. He certainly
Ferrigno would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah. And from what I understand, he's still jacked. So
he is. Yeah, he is. He's deaf in one ear, but he also makes a delicious Thanksgiving dinner.
And he has trouble walking still now. So
okay, well, that's all right. He could have just been sitting down having some pumpkin pie or something to keep the Thanksgiving theme. So let's talk
about it in She-Hulk season 2, episode 1 of why was it not. Why was there not a cameo?
Yeah.
When they announced that he was going to be playing Hulk 2, it was Robert Downey Jr. who announced him. And he said, reprising his role as Hulk. And everyone started cheering, thinking it was Ed Norton. And then Mark Ruffalo was like, not reprising. Like, from the beginning, I was like, poor thing. Oh, God.
So with Hulk being off and, coming back and all that, where do we think this will fit into future Hulk storylines, Elena? What do you think we're going to get? Do you think that they're going to show us where he was during this series? Like, we talked about this last week a little bit. No, I don't think that there's going to be a movie or a series that's like, let's catch up with Bruce. But I think that there'll be a thing where he kind of recaps it and maybe we'll get to see some of it. Do you feel like that's very likely to happen, Elena?
I feel like that's possible. I mean, it's kind of like the same like Captain Marvel thing when they're like, where has she been? And it's like, well, if you read the comics, you would know she's been off planet. But, whatever. If you read the comics too, she's a Star Wars fan and the cat's name is Chewie, not Goose. And I will never let that go.
Great point.
You own Star Wars now. Use it. But, yeah, I feel like it's going to be kind of a similar thing where they'll have like a little bit of recap where they'll have it open to where they could. But I feel like because of fan reception and because there's so much that they need to kind of cover, I feel like it is just going to be like a little mini recap, especially if there's like, I don't know. I feel like it'll be referenced in a movie. I want them to really interconnect it, but I really want a season 2 of She-Hulk. I feel like they have a lot that they could do with it still, like having the interconnectivity with Daredevil, like, and just kind of all the new phase that we have. I want there to be a little bit more injection of humor throughout it. So
yeah, no, I agree. What do you think, Kate, in terms of future Hulk storytelling? I mean, we've talked in the past about how they can't really make movies with the word Hulk in the title because Universal gets involved and nobody wants to give Universal anything, except for people who work for Universal.
Sorry, Elena.
Yeah. But no, I mean, they don't, it's like, why are you going to cut somebody into your movie making business if you don't have to? But Kate, your thoughts sort of in terms of where Bruce and Jen go from here in terms of what we're going to see next from them.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that, here's the funny thing is like, and I have I don't know. I feel like maybe Elena, I would like to hear your thoughts on this a little later, but like, I feel like now with the KEVIN, it's like the joke's all on us. Like we became the joke. So like me saying anything, I'm just like, is he listening? Like, is the camera going to be right there?
I hope.
Like, I'm that asshole.
I love my one tweet just made everyone be like, are you going to yell at me?
No. And it's not because I was most curious about your opinion. And I think I actually commented that I was like, I'm actually really curious about this. But I think for the Hulk and for Jen, what I think for She-Hulk, or what I would hope that they're doing with She-Hulk, is building out the storyline with Daredevil and almost creating what DC did for their television shows with The Flash and the Arrow and
Arrow,
Supergirl, that when everything kind of like, they did Crisis on Infinite.
Oh,
No!
Crisis on Infinite
That
Kates.
was a crisis right there, right?
Yeah, that was a, that's almost like one of those ones where you like move your arm and the plug from your microphone falls out or whatever. But I mean, the idea of continuing to keep the interconnected Disney Plus universe, I think is definitely something we're going to get. And
having met Charlie Cox, I'm glad that they're finally giving this man his due. I'm like, he is attractive, damn it.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen him in person, but I hear no lies.
I'm telling you.
I think that I think that a lot of these shows can get other seasons. A good example would be Ms. Marvel, but the Marvels movie will happen before, and then who knows? I think that that story will lend itself to more episodic. And I think the idea, I think that it was fair, Dominica Saxon saying that it's kind of like empty calories. I don't think that's necessarily dismissive. To have sort of a light half-hour episodic, almost procedural show, it works really well for them, I think. And so I do think we'll see more of it. What do you think, Eric, in terms about more from both Bruce and Jen?
Yeah, I think where they really could and maybe should be going is more of those like team ups. So I saw in the comments like was it like Thor Ragnarok having Hulk hang out with Thor? I mean, I think like instead of it having to be such a massive thing, I mean, even within the Arrowverse, yes, they had Crisis on Infinite Earths, but you could have like just why not She-Hulk just shows up in Daredevil for like a few episodes for like a shorter arc. And I think like that's in some ways what they're going to have to start doing more of because they have so many. That was not creepy. Was she actually asking for help? I'm not even sure now. Like, she get my
because
car.
earlier she couldn't hear, so I think that she was
She gave us the peace out and was like, "Bye."
Gesticulating. Yeah, that was the mic drop.
I think she blinked in Morse code her location, her GPS.
She's like, I just came back to say, screw you guys, I'm going home.
I don't need any of you.
Question for you guys.
Yeah. Elena.
Do you think that with the introduction of the X-Men and with like Deadpool and She-Hulk breaking the fourth wall and both kind of referencing X-Men, do you think we might get a cameo of both of them in an X-Men movie and having the two fourth wall characters potentially meet up? I think that would be really interesting.
I wouldn't rule it out. I think you're more likely to see her in a Deadpool movie, and you will see Deadpool in an X-Men property, I think. But
sure,
we've talked about it where I feel like
X-Men.
he won't be all third wall breaky. He'll still be funny. He'll still be the same character. He just won't.
Breaking the third wall just means breaking like the wall behind him.
No. I'm talking about the third one.
Again,
He's not
Titania.
He's not even going to break this. He's not even going to break the second wall. Like that's how.
Just the third wall. Just a retaining wall that they really need for structural integrity. It's funny. It's like I was thinking, Christian and I both occasionally allude to Norman Fell from Three's Company, who would turn to the camera, and I feel like that kind of moment of like just a subtle aside.
The camera?
Oh yeah, exactly. So I mean, it'd be so fun to have Daredevil, She-Hulk have a moment where the X-Men finally arrive and they're like, But I think X-Men, they got to figure out what's the tone of that. That's what's going to be so curious once we get there,
agreed.
which won't be for another couple of years.
Yeah,
well,
they've very specifically said it's a ways off. I want to make sure.
Not announced the cast of X-Men '97, but it's a really good cast.
Yeah.
Maybe someone might be in it.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. Yeah. Eric, I wanted to make sure that we talked about this because you took the time to send it to me. This, of course.
Yes. All roads lead back to a Hulk of a different color. Hulk Hogan. Yes. And I was totally getting Gremlins 2 vibes. Not a sentence I say all that much. But there was a great moment in Gremlins 2. I don't know how many great moments, just maybe this one. But
just maybe that one.
When the Gremlins actually take over the projection booth, back when we had those, with actual film. And the usher goes up to get Hulk Hogan, seated here next to me, of course, and basically says, "I've taken over." It's like, "Let me tell you something, Gremsters." And it was a great fourth wall breaking moment. And this was from 30 some odd years ago. So, as I watched this, I'm like, wait a minute, they're Gremlins 2ing this shit. Except, of course, they went exponentially beyond Gremlins 2, as they.
Now I just want Howie Mandel in the MCU.
I mean, I think we should definitely. I mean, the fact that we don't have Howie Mandel in the MCU, and
Howie Mandel is Colossus. I think is a no-brainer.
A Colossus that he won't punch anyone because he doesn't want to touch them with his hands because he's so germphobic.
No,
he has a rubber glove over his head.
Yeah, he'll punch the ground or punch the wall behind them, but he's just like, I can't. It's like a rogue can't touch you. Yeah, actually, he would be a perfect rogue because he can't touch anyone. So, let's go with a different gender, Bendy. Talking about people joining the MCU, I wanted to make sure we did talk about the big news that Harrison Ford would be taking over the role of Thunderbolt Ross. This is the second time one of these has happened for Harrison Ford. If people remember, after The Hunt for Red October, Alec Baldwin wanted so much money. They were like, nah, we'll just go ahead and get Harrison Ford. And it's like, oh, we got someone better. And obviously, William Hurt passed on, so it's not the same situation. But it's hard to be disappointed when an actor is being recast. One, because they passed away. Two, because it's like, oh wait, Indiana Solo is gonna play is gonna play Thunderbolt Ross.
How the hell did Alec Baldwin, how is that, price wise? I don't get it.
I mean, I think he probably, if I had to guess, he didn't ask for a lot for Hunt for October, and then it made a boatload of money. And then for Patriot Games, he's like, all right, well, now I want to be paid. And they're like, nah, that kind of money we can get Harrison Ford. But my vote to play Thunderbolt Ross was our friend Kate. And Marvel went another way. How do you feel about Harrison Ford joining the MCU, Kate?
I mean, I feel like then the cat really should be named Chewie now.
Exactly.
Call back.
Yeah.
Look,
it's exciting, and just to double down on this, there's people in the chat are saying there's this rumor that Sacha Baron Cohen might play Mephisto in Ironheart. So
or maybe he's just an actor with a headshot.
Harrison Ford is confirmed. But, we just keep getting, this idea. We keep getting people. What do you think, though, Kate? You can talk about both of those, the rumor and the confirmed casting.
Well, I mean, I feel like, William Hurt was a great casting for him. And, we all, unfortunately for all of us, he won't be able to continue the role. But I mean, I think Harrison Ford is a really good, runner up. It's a really good, Harrison Ford's a good stand-in of all the stand-ins you can get. But they chose a very good person to kind of, and I think it would have taken a lot for Harrison Ford being part of two major franchises to take on a third one. And so what that tells me is that Thunderbolts is going to be awesome. To get him involved, because he doesn't have to do it. He doesn't have to.
He doesn't have to do anything ever.
So it makes me more excited to see what they're creating for Thunderbolts and for Phase 5 as a whole. To address the rumor, I mean, Sacha Baron Cohen's pretty great in a lot of things. So I mean, and he's going down more serious paths. So I don't think it will be the what we've seen him do for, Borat or his personal stuff, or even when he's kind of the comedic, absurdist comedian like he did in Sweeney Todd or Les Mis. And granted, those were musical roles, but
sure.
I think it's going to be, he's done a lot of more serious dramatic roles recently. And I think having someone on that spectrum that can play with the absurdity of comedy in a very serious way, I think he can do it really well.
Yeah, and then I also think that one of the best decisions Sacha Baron Cohen made was to not be in that Queen movie when they were like, "Oh wait, you're not going to really tell the real story of Freddie Mercury and basically do like a 2-hour infomercial for the other guys in the band and how great they are." Nah, that's not that interesting. So, he's definitely looking for something more substantial. If he wants to, if Mephisto shapeshifts in any way and he wants to be Ali G for one scene, I'm going to be all in for that. But we don't need it. But I could use it. I'm just saying.
Bruce Campbell, damn it. Sam Raimi set it up. Spider-Man 4, it should have been Bruce.
I know, and yeah, but
Sasha, it should have been Bruce.
Nobody sells a hot dog at a vendor as well as Bruce Campbell does. So at least we got that.
So good. I'm still so mad.
What do you think about both of these, Elena? Harrison Ford and then the rumor of Sacha Baron Cohen.
Again, I don't want it to be Sacha Baron Cohen. I want it to be Bruce Campbell because that would have been amazing. And Sam Raimi set it all up. And then we had to watch freaking Spider-Man dance like an idiot in Spider-Man 3. So we never got Bruce Campbell as Mephisto in 4 like he should have been. So now is the time to fix your errors.
But we did get the definitive performance of Venom by Topher Grace, so I don't know why anybody's.
Oh my God, Topher Grace, which is funny too because like the whole Alien Predator, I was like, oh well, if they do another Alien movie, then filling in for William Hurt, they're gonna have connect all of it,
right?
And then Predator, of course, Predators with Topher Grace trying to be a bad guy was hilarious.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they should throw Topher Grace in again. I would probably laugh pretty hard.
I enjoy much of his
Mephisto.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tad Hamilton.
And before I throw this to you, Eric, Ghost 8386, Creed 3, Killmonger versus Kang the Conqueror, which is a great observation. And that does look like quite the matchup. So the ripples of the MCU are felt throughout the multiverse. What do you think about both of these, Eric, and sort of the bigger picture of, just basically going big, like, let's see if we can get Harrison Ford in on this universe of ours, Eric.
Yeah. Well, I think also, too, the past few years, Harrison Ford, as a performer, as an actor, has gotten a little more bold. Like, if you guys saw the Jackie Robinson movie, where he played Branch Rickey, and, he was, like, doing something like Harrison Ford doesn't normally do. He was changing his voice. He really did a character that wasn't Harrison Ford. And I feel like as he's gotten older, he just, unless I grew up on all his movies and always loved him, but what he's doing now in the twilight of his career has been really interesting. So the idea of him as Thunderbolt Ross is kind of exciting because, like, he will be trying something. Like, there is an itch to scratch for him to take that role because obviously, money he's fine, work he's fine. I imagine he's not going to have a huge role in it, but I feel like he actually is going to bring something to that part, which could be pretty exciting. Whether or not he turns into a Red Hulk, I mean, that would be the dream, but I don't expect that reality.
That is.
I feel like after he just walked away from that plane crash, he was like, "I'll do whatever I want. I'll be a superhero. Exactly. I'll be a villain. I'm Harrison Mother flipping Ford."
Yeah. And Dominicus Saxon pointed out, as soon as Kate started touching her phone, I knew we'd lose her again, but she's back, and that is the key right there. Look, lots of excitement on the horizon for the MCU. Theatrically we're less than a month away from Wakanda Forever. So we'll be spending some time on that. And there's a shorter release that I know Eric and I are just as excited about, something that we'll have Kate on to talk about within the next few weeks. Kate, how do people find out more about your film, and tell us as much as you can about it?
So I wrote a X-Men fan film because I was tired of not seeing them. So it's a Rogue and Gambit short film. It is called Uncanny, and you can find it on Instagram and on Facebook at Uncanny Film. UNCANNYFILM. And I post every day. I post BTS because my goal with making this was to write from beginning to end, to understand every part of the process and to develop a way of communicating with creators in a different way. And just practice what I've learned all these years. I worked on a lot of projects as a first AD and as a PA and, working on other stuff, but I wanted to helm something again and, put into practice everything that, we talk about other people for doing. I'm really excited about it, and it should come out in the next few weeks. It should come out right after Halloween. I was hoping to get it done on Halloween, but then of course it's like, this is horror month. No one's going to watch it. So come November, we will get a Rogue and Gambit short film, and it is about, it takes place after a 4-issue run from 1995, where Rogue retreats into the mountains after a trauma is reignited, and Gambit goes to get her.
Well, I know we're excited to see more of it, and once people are able to actually find it, we'll make sure that we share all that with them. And Kate, if people, so you said Uncanny Film is where they can follow it, so make sure they do that. Elena, thank you so much for being on again. We'll have to do it again sooner than this was. But where can people find you and keep in touch with you?
You can find me on Instagram at Elena J. Jordan, spelled Alana, because my parents don't love me, I guess. And Twitter at Elena Jordan. And if you're an American Horror Story fan, you can catch me tonight on Screen Centric talking about, all the leather and spikes and whatnot. And, we might be wearing some of them.
I'm glad you're still talking American Horror Story, because I know you used to do that for AfterBuzz. I think you and Alexa both used to do that. Yeah.
And this is the first time I've been back since I died. So it's like, hey, there you go. I did die, by the way. I flatlined. I don't know if you guys know this, but that's why I'm like, Harrison Ford, I feel you. Do what you want.
Legitimately didn't know that.
Did you really not?
No, I've never been happier to know that somebody's got wavy lines. Yeah, well, I'm so glad that you're with us, and so people just follow you on Insta, and they'll be able to find the American Horror Story show. It sounds too scary for me. I like an American Laughter Story. If they do that at some point, I'll check that out.
I do have to say, speaking of that, if you guys want to see something awesome from She-Hulk, watch the clip of Jamila Jamil on Conan talking about how she really wanted, since there's so many like dick punches, she wanted a badge punch, and they actually shot it and they show it, and it's kind of hilarious. Also, there should be a She-Hulk by Titanium makeup line, because come on.
I mean, yeah.
It
would make it so much easier for Eric to shop for his wife whenever her birthday is. Of
course.
Or
goes with everything.
Yeah, it goes with everything. And Eric, when and where can you be found?
When can I be found? I don't know, tomorrow. Only tomorrow. You can find me, Count Eric Connor, hanging around on Instagram and Twitter. And I found out actually the documentary, I went over to Israel for its Israeli premiere, is actually on Amazon Prime for free right now with Amazon Prime. So yeah, so you don't have to spend those $4 that you were going to use for Jolt Cola or whatever else you're into, Christian.
Oh my gosh, if I could find Jolt Cola, I'd spend a lot more than $4 to stock the fridge with it.
Especially because it's probably fermented right now and dangerous.
Yeah, it's aged like a fine carbonation. Well, now I've got no excuse for not seeing it. The idea that I had to spend $4 to see your movie was a little bit of a deterrent.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a lot to ask of any friend.
And you'll be able to see Kate, Eric, and myself over on the Geekscape Network on Sunday at 10:30 a.m., bright and early, Pacific time, 1:30 Eastern, talking about Sandman. We're doing it early in the morning so that we're all completely awake. I don't want to fall asleep. Who knows what would happen if I did? But we'll be talking about the Neil Gaiman run, which turned out to be the first 20 issues, volume 1 in the collection. So join us over there. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ. Ivan Soto wanted to know about an Andor podcast. I think with the Star Wars shows, we've gotten to the point where we just do one wrap up after they're over. It's a lot to kind of check in on those shows week to week. And while I'm enjoying Andor, I think when it's all over, it'll be easier to talk about. If we had done episode by episode and I had to talk about that first episode, I probably would have been susceptible to dream taking over my thoughts, because it was not easy to stay awake for me for the first episode of Andor, but I'm
They
enjoying
just
it
want
now.
Andor and more.
Andor. But please subscribe to the Blackcast YouTube channel. You'll get this show. Earlier today, we did a new episode of the Blackcast where we talked about some of the most objectionable content from 2022. I'm, of course, talking about Halloween Ends and Rob Zombie's The Munsters. So please join our conversation about that. And if you think you've seen the worst movie ever made but haven't seen Rob Zombie's The Munsters, please check it out, because then there'll be a new goat. But in any case, that is all the time we have for now. I'm not quite sure when we'll be back, but we'll be back again soon. So follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ, and we'll talk to you next time. And as the great Stan Lee would say, Excelsior!